There is nothing wrong with your radio. Do not attempt to adjust the dial. We are in control of this transmission.
Ah, screw that.
Beyond the strange.
Natural and unexplained phenomena.
Spiritual activity. Cryptids.
The future and the past.
Conspiracies. Beliefs and ancient remains.
The radio program for you, the listener, and bringing your stories and concerns to the table. And now your host, Dave Cruz. And good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, or good morning, depending on your spot on this little blue marble which circles this universe. Tonight we have with us Les Johnson III.
Hello.
Les. We have Rick Sennett with us tonight. Rick, would you like to say hi?
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
And we have Mr. Casper Sparks with us as well tonight. Casper, would you like to say hi to everybody?
Greetings.
Okay, on tonight's episode, we are running our pre-Halloween show, since this show will air after Halloween on the 30th. Will air on the, oh, yeah. Anyways, so after Halloween, because Halloween is on Saturday, this show will run Sunday. And if you listen to the promo, yes, Dave Cruz is your host, and it is I, Brian Anderson, filling in for Dave tonight. And I have an announcement to make for everybody. Dave has known for a little over 2 weeks now. Les and Holographic have known for roughly about a week or so. I am leaving as co-host of Beyond the Strange. And it's all due to personal issues, mainly work-related. I have other obligations that I need to do. So, with that said, welcome to Beyond the Strange. You can reach us at #BeStrange on Twitter or at Strange Days 2015. We also have a Facebook page called Beyond the Strange, and you can reach us on Skype at Beyond the Strange. Sorry about that. Beyond the Strange. Beyond one word, the strange, another word. So, with that said, let's get this show started, shall we, gentlemen? Does anybody have anything that they would like to talk about that has been in the news lately?
Well, Holographic wanted us to bring up the fact of the 9 days, the gentleman named Kesh that is bringing out the new plasma generators. Have you heard anything about that?
Is it Kesh? MT Kesh?
I believe so, yes.
Yes. Yes, I think that announcement is what, tomorrow?
I think he did an announcement on Friday, and he is offering this plasma generator that actually creates free energy. Well, it's not free, but it's very low cost. The Kesh Foundation is actually offering it to any country, any person that wants it, and It's supposedly this brand new technology that's going to be able to bring us literally out of the oil ages. Now, he is supposed to, actually hand these things out, and I believe each person that he gives them to, or each country that he gives them to, will be able to use the object for up to 10 days to figure out the technology. And he's offering it for free. The only thing you have to do is promise that you will use this technology to create world peace, and that's it.
Well, that sounds like a reasonable deal. And from what I understand with Mr. Kesh, he doesn't call it free energy. So he's not actually calling it free energy in and of itself. It does rely on other aspects of physics, but it just produces energy in a more efficient way. That's my understanding.
Right, and supposedly you can use it to fly. You can use it to, generate, magnetic fields that can actually, use these magnetic fields, or that you can use it for propulsion of any type. It's supposed to be able to use to make things to heal with. It's supposed to be able to be used to make food, and electricity.
Well, and that kind of falls into what one of the headlines I read, I think it was earlier today, where they were saying that we will no longer be able to feed ourselves here in a short period of time, that we won't be able to supply the world with enough food. So, I mean, hopefully, and there's been a lot of these free energy, quote-unquote, generators that have been out there.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, in the past, all it's really been is more or less a money-making scheme. I don't know if that it started out as that intent, but unfortunately it has been. I really do hope with Mr. Kesh that this isn't one of those schemes. Since he's giving it away for free, it really doesn't make sense that it would be.
I agree. I did hear something. I believe it was posted on Facebook. One of our friends posted it. That Obama and the U.S. government are actually considering this technology terrorist in nature. Is that true?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think about it. I mean, per the discussion we were having last night with all of us, and, we try not to get too political around here. With your energy, your mass energy corporations, I mean, even with Tesla, it was true with Tesla and Edison. Well, Edison wanted his lobbying against Tesla basically was the ruin of Tesla and all his inventions. So, and now it's come to more of a marketing thing than it has been for actually solving problems. So, yeah, I would imagine that almost any government out there that is, and I'm going to say this because this is my opinion, that is run by corporations, anything that deals with almost free energy and takes away from the bottom line, dollar-wise, is going to be considered terroristic for the simple fact, and mind you, could you turn it into a bomb? I don't know. I haven't looked at the specs, so I don't know. Could you turn it into a bomb that could be used as a weapon of mass destruction? I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the specs. I don't know if they've been released publicly, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, they're literally probably going to consider it a weapon of mass destruction on a grand scale.
Convenient.
Very convenient. I mean, I'm not trying to, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be political in nature. It's just my viewpoint, and that's all I'm expressing as to how I feel about our government and how it's operated.
And that actually leads me into the next news item, believe it or not. With food, Monsanto, etc. Something I posted earlier today that actually my wife brought up to me. We've also talked about this off the show. It's do you know what glyphosate is?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Glyphosate is one of the main chemicals in Agent Orange, which is also a chemical that they put in Roundup.
Um,
Now,
no, okay, never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, basically, we about 3 shows ago, maybe even 4 shows ago, we were talking about, Dave in particular, and thank you, Dave, for letting me be on tonight. I really appreciate it. We were talking about all the GMO products that are out there by Monsanto, etc., and that they're actually made to take poisons because it helps them, genetically modified. It helps them grow faster.
Correct.
Okay. Come to find out, and this affects women in particular, and I'm really surprised. I did not, a lot of people haven't put this together before now. Is a new study done in South America. I can't remember the exact country that it's I believe it may have been Argentina, I believe, and don't quote me on that. I'm not absolutely sure. Found that the genetically modified cotton that women are using, and and this is something that's important, so I'm going to talk about it. Tampons, believe it or not, has almost out of all the samples they tested, has Roundup slash which is the derivative. Roundup is a derivative of Agent Orange, and has glyphosate in it. Can you imagine how many women have quite possibly died or gotten cancer from that? Just that?
Now, oh, there's Bob. Hi, Bob.
Ah, Bob. God of bloody mighty.
Yes. Now, if they're using this as an absorbent material, then yeah, I would imagine. I mean, you just, unless you take a look at, and lately they've come with all these scientific terms for every product that you ingest or wear. Unless you look them up online and are able to figure out what they are, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. They're probably using it as an absorbent type of material within the feminine hygiene product. I mean, it goes much along the lines of styrofoam. Styrofoam contains polystyrenes. Polystyrenes cause cancer. How do you release the polystyrenes out of styrofoam? You heat it up. So if you take hot coffee in a styrofoam cup, or you take your food from a restaurant that's still warm into a styrofoam container and take it home, you've got a really good chance that those polystyrenes are leaking into your coffee, to which you're ingesting, or leaking into your food, which you are eating. So yeah, to me it makes perfect sense because, well, for $1 we'll throw anything in anything just to gain $1 from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it amazes me still, the uncaring nature of corporations, and that can it be that they want to kill people off? This is just an opinion of mine, and I'm just throwing it out there. Is it a conspiracy? Who knows? Really. It's just that, for the past 20, 30 years, women have been using these things that are basically soaked in glyphosate. And, it could, who knows how many women have gotten, cervical cancer, vaginal cancers, had to have ovaries removed, had to have tumors removed, all because of this GMO product basically soaked in Roundup.
Well, take a look at Roundup. I mean, how long has Roundup been around that we've been using it on a mass scale to kill our weeds in our yards or in our driveways or in our sidewalks, what have you?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's only, this year that they say, hey, it causes cancer.
Yeah.
And how many countries so far have banned it now? Because it does cause cancer.
Right, and it seems, of course, the corporate-run, country that we are, anything that tends to be cancer, they, the people that end up shouting the loudest either end up disappearing or dying.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you've got Karen Silkwood for a good example during the whole nuclear power deal, back in the 70s, during that whole fiasco. So, yeah, I mean, anybody that says anything or comes out of the woodwork, yeah, if they don't have if they don't have enough, what's the word I'm looking for? If they don't have enough public view, if they're not out in the public saying, hey, this is really what's going on, then and they don't get out there and stampede it and get out into full public view, then yeah, I mean, it goes back to these holistic doctors that have been being literally murdered, and I forget what the number's at now, or the NASA
13.
scientists. Yeah, 13, or you've got the NASA scientists, which I believe is up to 75 now, that have mysteriously passed away due to unforeseen accidents or this or that. So if you're not out in the public limelight and not pushing this stuff, then yeah, I'd say you've got a bullseye painted on you, and you're not making it any better.
Now, Rick and I have talked about this. Unless you're going to be in the public purview, unless you're going to come out, there's no such thing as a whistleblower and hiding anymore. If you really want to survive being a whistleblower, you have to come out, you have to present your evidence, and you have to be public. The more public you are, the safer you are. Period.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, other than that, yeah, like I said, you've got a big old target painted on your back, and that's not what you want.
Nope.
Now, keep in mind tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that yes, tonight is a Halloween special, and we are going to be telling personal, quote-unquote, ghost or paranormal stories about what we have witnessed. You're more than welcome to join in. Post it on Twitter if you have a story. Call into Skype if you need to. Remember, on Twitter, it's to follow us. It's hashtag #BeStrange, the letter B and the word strange. Also at Strange Days 2015. For Skype, it's Beyond the Strange, beyond one word, the strange, another word. And you can call us call on the Skype line if you want to. I've got it open, so if you have a story, please share it with us. So, being as that's been put out there, anybody else got anything that they have heard in the news lately or have been following before we go into our first break? Anybody? No? Okay, I've got something, and I just want to get it out there for everybody to understand. We have SETI, okay, and with this new sun out there that I forget, I can't even remember the name. I was going to look it up just to refresh my memory, but I want to keep everybody in the know. Because everybody's like, oh, SETI, they'll find it, right? Well, okay, SETI's been around since the 60s, 50s, majorly in the 70s, 80s, and now the 90s. The problem with SETI, and it's not really a problem, it's just one of those things. I don't think people realize how much actual noise is in the universe. Everything in our universe makes a sound, and it's at different frequencies. So if you're looking at something that is 75,000 or 75 light years away, and you're looking at it with a radio telescope, and that's what SETI uses a radio telescope, and you're listening for something in the background that is produced radio-wise, the propagation of radio waves does travel roughly at the speed of light. When it's out there in the universe, yeah, it travels extremely quick. The problem is that the background noise of the universe saturates that signal. And as it propagates out from its source, it spreads out and thins out. It's not a tight beam communication. So when you're talking about light years, and most of the stars that we know about are light years away, I think the closest, well, within our own galaxy would be our closest stars, which are suns. Now, when we start looking at the closest galaxy next to us, which is Andromeda, I mean, you're talking, I think, 3, 4 light years, 7 light years up to that point, someplace around in there. So when you're talking about light years and distance here, you've got to remember these people, these scientists are giving it their all. They are actually looking for life out in the universe other than ourselves. But with the propagation of radio waves, the saturation from the background universe, the spreading out of those radio waves, it is literally worse than trying to find a needle in the haystack. And I want you to think about this as well as we go through this. Think about this on a whole. We're spinning in our own galaxy. The universe is expanding. It's not contracting. It's actually still expanding. It's slowing down, but it's still expanding. Other systems are spinning inside their solar system, which is spinning inside their galaxy arms or in closer to the heart of their galaxy. In order to actually pick up one of those, especially if you were using a tight beam communications device, you would have to calculate the rate of expansion of the universe, the rotation of our galaxy, the rotation of our planet around our star, and counteract that with the rotation of your own galaxy, along with the rotation of your own planet around your own star, in order to factor in how to get that beam directly to this planet. Now, you could direct it straight to the solar system, but the chances of it actually hitting Earth or us being capable of picking it up, let alone deciphering it, is still, your chances are worse than finding a needle in the haystack. But these people are giving it their all. And I just want everybody to realize it's not impossible. It's not improbable. But in order for this to do this, this is a momentous undertaking. And if you don't hear that they've made progress, it's not from a lack of trying with SETI. They're trying to do what they can. But until we actually start putting our own listening posts out on moons in our local star system, in our local solar system, on other planets, on moons, and we start putting other listening posts out there, we won't really get a total grasp. It's just so enormous. But I just wanted to go in for a little bit, so try not to get your hopes up too high about this new star and possibly a Dyson sphere, because they're looking at it, and they're looking at the shift, the actual light shift. They can figure out what it is. But as far as communication, just be on the lookout.
And you know, Brian, you know what, and I'm going to ask you a question. Would they, or could they, even if it was a Dyson sphere, would that information eventually come out?
Maybe. And it probably wouldn't be like if they discovered it tomorrow, you wouldn't hear about it tomorrow. You might. I mean, you honestly might, because if you think about SETI, it's not really government ran. It's more relying on donations from the public. There is a little bit of government money in there, but not a lot. It's mainly ran by schools and public donation.
Well, the government actually pulled public funding back in the 80s.
Exactly. So, being as this is kind of a private deal, yeah, you might actually hear about it.
Okay, but would it be from the scientists in America, or would it be from the scientists that are in SETI abroad?
It would probably be from the main SETI here in the United States. It probably wouldn't be from abroad. So there again, now who answers to who on a government scale and on a private scale? I don't know. I don't have that information. And that's what really cuts the cheese right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes me really wonder though if they would consider it, if the government would come in and say, you're breaking the Patriot Act by letting everybody know, information that could hurt America or hurt the United States. I can see that happening. That's just my opinion.
I could see it happening with our government because, I mean, frankly, it seems like, and again, this is just my opinion, it seems to me our government is scared of our own shadow. who's the first one to strike out first? If you're in a fight, who's usually the one to hit first? Is it the bully? Well, yeah, it's usually the bully that causes it, but why is the bully causing it? It's usually out of fear. So it just seems that our government these days is scared of its own shadow and everybody else's at the same time.
I agree.
So yeah, I think if the government had their finger in the pie, yeah, you probably wouldn't hear anything maybe for about 10 years if you're lucky. I mean, that's just saying if you're lucky.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. If you're lucky, you'd hear it after 10, and that's only after the information leaked out.
Exactly. So, but yes, I mean, I wanted everybody to relax and chill on this KIC 8, whatever the heck it is. I can't remember. Like I said, just chill on it. Wait for it a little bit. Let's see what SETI has to say. Let's see what it is all about, if they get any new information, and if they decide to share with us. Because, I mean, frankly, my opinion is, if they do, they probably won't. And there's no sense in getting your hopes up that they do. But then again, this all goes back into disclosure, and I think we're heading closer to that. Actually, I think disclosure's already been done. They just haven't told any of us about it. It's slowly leaking out. But and disclosure is coming from the private individuals, and I think they're trying to break it to us slowly so there's not a mass panic or anything. That's just my opinion because of what I see and what I hear. When I see Rome and I see, congressional hearings, and you've got the scientists and everything saying that within 25 years we will discover life, extraterrestrial life, not based on Earth. Well, that to me is pretty much just a prelude to them saying, yeah, hey, guess what? Yeah, there is life out there. They're just going to take their own sweet time to do it, be it 10 to 25 years. So, but with that said, again, this is Beyond the Strange, and next Sunday, Dave will be back. I may be here, I may not. It's up in the air. Basically, I'm just leaving as co-host. I'm not leaving the show. I will try to do everything I can for the show in my absence, and I will try to come in from time to time on various Sundays when I have the time to do so, and to join in the conversation. So it's not like I'm leaving the show as a total on a whole. I just want everybody to know that. It's just what I've got going on in my life requires me to give something up, and unfortunately I have to give up Beyond the Strange. So after we get back from the break, we will start with the Halloween ghost stories, and we'll figure out who's going first. I don't know yet because we didn't discuss that, but we'll figure it out when we get back. All right, so we're going to go to the first break now. Hang on, everybody, for 4 minutes and 47 seconds. We'll be right back.
Remember what Professor Snidely, myself, always says. It's not the size of your brain that counts. It's the weight. And remember, Beyonders, listen to Beyond the Strange. Sundays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Do you believe in UFOs? Time travel? How about ghosts or Bigfoot? Greetings to all you Beyonders out there. This is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange. I wanted to personally thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Beyond the Strange is not your typical podcast. We want to hear your stories and experiences. This is the radio program for you, the listener. We bring your stories and concerns to the table. So check us out live every Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, Beyonders believe.
Yo. Is this thing on? Beyonders, believe. Stay strong, Beyonders. Hey. Where's my beer? You said you paid me a beer for doing this. Give me my beer.
And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Strange. So, who would like to go first with their first ghost story? Anybody, please chime in.
Why don't we let Casper go first, since he's this is the first time he's been on.
All right, Casper, it's yours.
All right, can you hear me all right?
Can do. You're coming through clear.
All right. A quick little background on the it's sort of two ghost stories in one. I had been doing some roadie work, to stage managing, lighting tech for a band, and between gigs we go to a guitar player's house in Florida. It was on the back of 7.5 acres, with a lake on one side, had full of alligators, pine trees on the other side, and abandoned farm on the next. So, and the guitar player's mother was dying of cancer, and she drank quite a bit, and she'd get up and walk past us as if we weren't there, open and close the kitchen cabinets, like slamming them, mix herself a drink, and go back upstairs. And about a year and a half after all that, she passed away, and I was staying at the house with a friend, house setting while they were in California, and we turned her bedroom into a TV room, and so we were up there watching TV with the dogs, and keep in mind we're in the back of 7.5 acres, no neighbors, and all of a sudden downstairs you could hear like someone go down the steps, and then all of a sudden you hear all the kitchen cabinets opening and closing and slamming like they did when she was alive, mixing a drink. And my friend had not been around when she was alive, but he like flipped out. I flipped out, and the dog just kind of hunkered down, and of course went downstairs to look, nothing down there at all. So it was like her ghost was still there, going down and mixing drinks. This is kind of really weird. Then I had a spot roadie. I was out of state at the time. I was in Florida. I was home for the holidays up in Michigan, and one of the spot roadies was a friend of the band, would help us out once in a while. Had broke up with his girlfriend and was doing whatever, a party at the house, and I wasn't there. And he walked off into the front yard, which is 7.5 acres, and took his life. And it took a couple months to find the body because it was a real brushy area. And I was working at a radio station, and my friend was at the house, and calls me up to the station that there was someone standing at the window of the kitchen, banging on the window, scratching the window, and described the guy to me. It was like described the roadie who had taken his life. That was really bizarre. You know, it's something that really actually happened. It was the same house, two different ghosts. So
Okay.
there's something definitely going on.
With the first death, with the mother dying, how long did that activity go on? Do you know?
Let me think. Let's see. We moved in there. I'm doing a little math in my head. Sorry about that. We had been in the house for at least a month and a half when that happened. I'm going to say it went on for at least 3-4 months, maybe 6, on and on. It wasn't like a nightly occurrence or a monthly. It happened a couple different times, probably 2 or 3 over the course of like maybe 4 to 6 months.
Wow. That would be enough to freak me out. I mean, it's one thing to hear different little bumps in the night or something, or floorboards creaking, or possibly even a door slamming on its own. But to have it be pretty much the same process as to what she was doing before her death,
yeah,
that would just freak me out. And you said the dog was cowering as well, right?
Yeah, there were 2 dogs, and the dog just kind of hunkered down. They were laying by the bed, or by the I shouldn't say bed. They were laying by the couch, and we had one of those 7-piece sectionals up there, and they hunkered down there, and just kind of like hunched their shoulders down and put their head down closer to the floor between their paws.
Wow. Yes. I mean, experiencing that, I would literally just like get the creeps. I know I would. And I've been through some experiences myself, and I'll go through mine a little later. But I mean, something like that would just, I guess I mean, did you get used to it? I mean, was it just something that just got, oh, okay, it's this.
We kind of got used to it, and I was working at shortly after the first couple of incidents, I started working a second shift at a radio station, so I wasn't always home when it happened. I think it happened a couple times. He was there by himself, but it happened at least twice when I was there. And I think it might have happened when I was not there, because again, I was working second shift as an announcer at the station, so I wasn't there, after the first couple of incidents.
I got you. Now, with the second death on the property, you said this was the same property?
Yes.
Now, with the second death that happened on the property, what exactly happened? I mean, what kind of spiritual activity did you exactly witness with that?
Well, I wasn't there. I'm relaying what my friend told me.
Okay.
Because I was at the station, and he calls me up and goes, "There's someone knocking on the window, scratching on it." Describe the person, and he grabs a shotgun, flinches and blows a hole in the kitchen floor. I had to patch that up real quick before the people came home. But we described the person on the other side of the window as pretty close to the roadie that had taken his life. He was in a romance. Had broken up with his girlfriend, had been drinking, probably just some other things besides that, and everybody knew that he had taken his life, and because they heard the gun blast, and but nobody could find the body. And then one day the dogs found it. He had gone off into the ditch and did it, and nobody went down into the ditch because the ditch was a good, I'm going to say 10 feet deep, and real tall grass. No one had gone down that deep to look for him. I walked around the lake looking for him. Had a water moccasin by the back of my boot, but You know, I was glad I was wearing boots. But, you know, he'd been dead for, I'd say it was almost to the anniversary of his death that happened in the kitchen to my friend, where the ghost was at the door scratching, banging on the window of the kitchen. I think he probably wanted back in. You know,
I got you.
And I don't know. You know, I've heard ghosts can't come in to a place that's not theirs if they weren't invited, but I don't know if that's necessarily true either. You know.
Now, did they find the body before or after the activity started?
They found the body before. Yeah, the body was found several months before that. My friend that inherited the house with his sister, he had found the body. See, I think he took his life I want to say near Thanksgiving or Christmas time, and then the body was found like, you know, this Florida, so, you know, their winter's like our spring. So I think the body was found like maybe February or March. It had been down there for a good 2.5 months at least, maybe 3, before they found the body. Um, so, you know, there was some question about the gun and stuff like that, but, you know, that was back in the 80s, so, you know, and the guy died. Everybody knew he had taken his life, but we couldn't find the body. You know, one day, bam, you know, we found it with the dogs. I think it was actually the dogs that found it.
Now, did it ever happen again? Did anybody else experience this again after the first initial experience?
Not that I'm aware of. After the shotgun blast to the kitchen floor, he said he just like, he saw him run by the window, and then he actually, because he had the gun in his hand, you know, it wasn't the same gun that the guy had used. He went and opened up the front door, and there was nobody there. Nobody's gone. But again, this is like the back side of 7.5 acres, lake filled with alligators on the one side, you know, on the back side of the house, and the front side was 7.5 acres deep, and pine forest on the right if you're looking toward the road, and abandoned farm on the left. It was really isolated area.
Wow.
You know, but that was the only time that had happened. And it's possible, I'm wondering if, and I often wondered that, if it wasn't the shotgun blast on the kitchen floor, it was too close to the memory of what had happened. You know, because that's how he'd taken his own life, was with a weapon. So, you know, and that apparently spooked him. You know, spooked the spook, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's just again, and you said this happened right around the anniversary of his death.
Real close to it, yeah. I would say within maybe 2 weeks either way. You know,
Wow.
3
So
weeks after, maybe 3 at the most.
I got you. So maybe he was just, you know, kind of letting everybody know that, hey, I'm still here. You know, getting close to the anniversary of my death, and I'm still here.
Yeah, I think that's real possible. You know, so I didn't know the guy really well. I mean, you know, he popped in and out when we were close enough to the town to help out. We were doing the Class A club circuit, so yeah. I mean, I'm not naming any names or anything like that. I don't want, you know, roll in the house or anything like that. But it was definitely weird. You know, it was one of those weird ghost stories. You know, I mean, I had an encounter when I was 16 with a shadow man, but that's not a ghost story. So, but that was, you know, it was definitely one of those weird things that, you know, and the thing like with a woman is there were 2 of us there to witness it, you know, the sound and everything else. So, and it's weird. I seem to recall that the kitchen, when we went downstairs, the kitchen light was on, and I was pretty sure it was off when we went upstairs. I was fairly conscious of electricity, you know, trying to watch utility bills.
Huh.
Thanks for having me on to tell the ghost story. I appreciate that.
Oh no, Casper, please hang out, and as people go through their stories, if you want to chime in, please do so. Just hang out with us, you know, and as we go through these stories, if you have a question to ask, please let us know, and we'll bring you on and let you ask your question. Okay?
Again, thank you for having me on, and have a good evening. I'll be right here in the background.
All right. Thank you, Casper.
Bye.
Okay, now out in our audience, we now have Dave Cruz, who has joined us. Dave, would you like to come on and say something?
Papa Dave.
Okay.
What's up, guys?
Ah, there he is. Hi, Dave.
What's up, everybody? What's happening? How's it going?
What's up?
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Lynn, Rick, Les, Casper, Brian. Wow, what a full house tonight.
Yeah, it ended up being a pretty full round table with your absence.
Well, yeah, we just got back a little while ago. Just did a little bit of unpacking. I am wiped out, and I really want to appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Les. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm just in the background tonight. I'm listening. You guys are doing fabulous, and I'd like to hear some more ghost stories.
All right, we'll see what we can do for you, Dave. Hang in there and keep on listening. Okay, people, this is Beyond the Strange. Rick, do you have something to share, or Les? Les or Rick? Either one of you two.
Rick is first.
Oh, okay. To quote House of Pain, I got more stories than a bottle's got songs. The first one I'd like to hit actually didn't happen to me. It happened to my parents on their honeymoon in Fort Bragg. They were at the hotel, and they didn't know it was haunted. So my my mom was in the shower. My dad was laying in bed. The lights are off. He was, just getting ready for bed, and he heard or felt something hit the bed, and he thought he heard somebody hit the floor and kind of moan. And he said, "Hon, are you okay?" And she's in the bathroom. She's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he's like, "Okay, what the hell?" Turns on the light. All the pictures in the room are crooked. It's like, okay, and this is the way it goes in my family for generations. Just kind of go, okay, straightens out the pictures, goes back to bed. Then he feels a bump against the bed again. I'm probably butchering this. He can tell it a lot more accurately than I can. But, and there's another bump against the bed after my mom gets in bed. And my mom says, "Hon, are you okay?" He goes, "Yeah, are you okay?" And like, right here. So they turn on the light again. All the pictures are crooked in the room, and they thought they heard somebody fall in the hallway. Dad pops his head in the hallway. All the pictures in the crooked hallway, or all the pictures in the hallway are crooked. Long story short, they decide, get the hell out of there, pack up their stuff, and at the time, their car was this little Triumph Spitfire. Are you guys familiar with that type of a car?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, it was like a British Mazda Miata. I mean, a small little sports car, fun, peppy, a lot of problems with the electronics. So they're in their Spitfire. My mom had her big wad of knitting that she was working on, and they had the heater full blast. It was just cold as ice. They were all bundled up, heater going full blast. My mom just puts her knitting down on the handbrake right between the seats, and as soon as they pass the cemetery, boom, the heater comes on like it's been on for hours, full blast. I mean, just like a pizza oven, and her knitting's gone. And that's pretty much it right there. Just past the cemetery. Now it's like 130 degrees in the car, and her knitting's gone.
Her knitting just vanished out of the car.
Just vanished. It's a Triumph Spitfire. Where can it go? I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, unless it's convertible and you got the top down.
Yeah, but if you're freezing ass cold, you're not going to have that top down.
No, you're not. And those if, as far as my memory recalls, there is no rear windows in those.
No, no. Well, I mean, it has that plastic window on the back of like any convertible top.
Right.
But yeah, there's no back window. It's a two-seater, very small car, very cramped. If you're plus size, you're not going to have a very spacious experience. And big wad of knitting right on the e-brake, poof, gone. And also, this is back in I think they got married in like 73, 74, if I'm not mistaken. Because well, obviously they were born before, or they were married before I was born in 75. But
Right.
yeah, 73, 74, you don't have plastic knitting needles and stuff. Things were made out of metal. They had more weight to them. And so even if they did have the top down, her knitting wouldn't just flap off into the breeze without them noticing.
No, no, no. Especially with as small of a car as that is, and it's like you said, it's only a two-seater. There's no rear window except for, it's got the plastic window from the convertible, but I don't think those were unzippable. They were just there. The top was up.
Yeah, they went down with the top. They went up with the top. Exactly. But yeah, there's something about it. Just after they passed that cemetery, like nothing ever happened. Heater, full blast, knitting was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really honestly unexplicable. I mean, to have something. I'd love for your dad to tell it. But,
yeah, he could tell it a lot better than I could, because I know I butchered it, but you get the gist of it, and the ending is dead on what happened.
What was their sense at the time? I'm sure they've relayed that to you, but what were they freaked out or what?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the reason they left. And they're just like, you know what, we're good. We got a shower and screw it, let's go. But yeah, it's and so people don't get confused. It's the Fort Bragg in Northern California, not the one on the East Coast.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, past the cemetery and poof, gone.
Well, I think Dave might want to ask you a question on that one. Dave, did you want to ask something?
Shoot.
No, I was just saying, I know where Fort Bragg is. It's a beautiful place, but it's right on the coast and it's gorgeous.
Yep, and haunted. And
haunted.
Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah.
No, I was just repeating what you said. I was just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One I haven't relayed before was when I lived in Pacific Grove, California, which is right between Carmel, California, and Monterey, California. We lived in a about 100-year-old Victorian house when we were in it, and that was back in the late 80s. And my parents had a Ouija board because, well, that's the kind of family we are. And they were messing around with it, and they contacted a kid by the name of Irwin, who died when he was like about 8 years old. And he didn't relay things quite clearly, but he said that he was born in San Ran. And that's a town. I was born and raised in California, and it's not a town that I'm very familiar with. I'm thinking maybe he meant San Francisco, or maybe San Ramon or something like that.
Or maybe
or where?
San Rafael.
Yeah, but he spelled out San Ran, R-A-N. So yeah, not really quite sure what he meant. But my friend Francisco, I've known since first grade. We're like, yeah, whatever. And so we took a shot at it, and we started talking to the kid through the Ouija board. And this is part why I don't like Ouija boards and investigations, because it's like, no, you're moving it, and it turns into kind of a goofy game. But that's why it's made by Hasbro or Milton Bradley or whatever. But
yeah, exactly. It turns into a kid's game whenever you try to use one on an investigation.
Yeah, as long as you don't encounter a spirit named Captain Howdy, I think you're okay. Oh, come on, Exorcist, come on, it's a Halloween episode, guys, roll with me. But yeah, and we talked to the kid a little bit more, and from what the Ouija board supposedly was telling us is he grew up in the house, and died in the house. Well, one of my mom's friends that she worked with actually rented the house that we were in, and she lived in it when it was all one house. The Victorian was converted into like a bi-level, so there's somebody living under, downstairs. We rented the upstairs, and there was a staircase that went up to the area that's now the kitchen. And she came home one day, and staircase was on fire. I mean, we're talking just blazing fire. She freaks out, calls the fire department, which was only a block away. They come down, nothing there. And she would have, knocks and all sorts of stuff in the house when she lived there. So, I mean, there's something messed up with that house.
Now, would you consider that a residual haunting, or was it more of an active haunting?
The only thing that I had to go off of was the Ouija board. And you can't really say that was active because you're calling it out. It's like making a phone call. And the person answers, can't really say, making a blind phone call type of thing.
Yeah, the only problem with that, Rick, is when you're dealing with a spirit on a Ouija board, is you don't know who or what they were originally.
Well, same thing could be said with EVPs and with an ovulus and spirit box and all that. I mean,
Right.
It's kind of like the supernatural version of the Nigerian prince email. Probably not legit.
Oh, come on! Somebody just sent me $1 million.
Oh, there was actually a town, I forgot where, but there was a town that fell for that, and the town is now bankrupt. Just not mean to have a squirrel moment here, but there's actually a town, and I think it's in Northern California, that actually fell for the Nigerian prince thing, and the town's now bankrupt because the guy jacked all their money. I kid you not.
Wow.
Now, in my opinion, that is truly beyond the strange. Come on, I'm in a good mood. Roll with it. We'll go with the puns. Thank you. But yeah, those are a couple that I haven't told anybody before. Definitely not on the air. So I thought I'd give you guys something new and fresh.
Thanks, Rick.
No problem. There's also the house in Fresno. There's.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brian. Why don't you bring us into our break, and then I'd love to hear one from you, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, after the break, I'll go ahead and tell mine. Remember, everybody, this is Beyond the Strange. You can follow us on Twitter at #BeStrange. That's the letter B and the word strange. Or catch up with us on Twitter at BeStrange2015. Or contact us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page up, Beyond the Strange. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into our mid-show break. We will be back in roughly 5 minutes.
Are you bored with your Sunday nights? Looking for something different? A show that's for you, the listener? Tune in Sunday evenings, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, to Beyond the Strange.
Me and my mommy always listen to Beyond the Strange on Sunday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. A live show that's for you, the listener.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and with us on Skype is Space Boy. Space Boy, can you hear us?
Well, this is Space Boy, but to my immediate left is the lovely Sirlana.
Hey.
How are y'all guys doing tonight?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Great, great. Well, we don't really necessarily have a ghost story per se, but we just wanted to call in because, back to back, we're killing Saturdays together. So we wanted to say we love listening to y'all on Sundays.
Well, Dave will be taking over on Sundays, and I will be coming in from time to time. So thank you very much, Space Boy. Anybody else? Les, Dave, Lynn, everybody want to say hi to Space Boy and Sirlana?
Space Boy, hi. How you doing, brother?
Hi, guys.
Hello,
Yeah, it's who's who. Roll call.
Hi, Sherilyn.
This
Cubby.
is Lynn. This is Lynn from Oz. Hi.
Oh, hello, my love.
How you doing?
Well, Casper's in here, but
I'm still around. I'm here. I threw a funny goal, but didn't go over too good.
but yeah, I was running late last night to catch your show, Space Boy and Sirlana, and I think I came in just about maybe a half an hour before you were winding it up with Gordon last night.
Yes. We had a fun time doing that interview, and Gordon was quite the cat. He is quite an interesting person to talk to on behind the scenes, and as he is on the air. So I mean, if you ever get a chance to touch base with him, please do. I mean, he's got a wealth of information, especially in conspiracy theories. In fact, we're thinking about inviting him back for another show. But we haven't quite nailed it down exactly how we're going to do that. But, we'll let y'all know.
He's JFK.
Really an amazing person, Gordon is. Did anybody know he like majored in archaeology?
No kidding.
This I did not know.
Plus, he has such a great personality too. So I mean, he's definitely into the nerd culture like I am, and Sirlana and myself enjoyed talking to him. I think Sirlana was really the one who had the bulk of the questions for him.
Yeah, I'd done all this research, and by the time I got done with the research, I was so depressed. I was like, I can't wait for this to be over. I just need to go look at something happy for a while.
Yeah, that's one of the bad things when you start getting into conspiracies and you start doing the research and you look into it. Yeah, I mean, it really weighs on you when you start thinking about it all and reading it all and researching it all. It's just something that really, really starts weighing on your soul.
Yeah, I'm thinking, gosh, I got to get back to church.
Now, to ask you, because I know one of the things when I've dug into conspiracies that are dead on proven to be true and definitely have something to them. Do you ever get like this feeling, this really heavy feeling of crap? The cards are stacked against me. What can I do about it? What can we, the people, do about it? You get this feeling of like futility?
That's why I keep doing this research, and I listen to another mutual show of ours that we really enjoy, because main thing is I don't want to get fooled. I don't want somebody pulling the wool over my eyes or showing me a hologram and making me believe it. So I'm trying to at least just stay informed, stay on top of it. Maybe it is futile, but the least I can do is try to fight back with my last breath, so I don't go blindly as a sheep.
And I'm kind of like on the same page with her as far as, I can dive into the information and I love the subject matter, but there comes a point where I have to break for something else. It's like a palate cleanser. I turn on cute kitties or something like that.
Now, we watch people fall off skateboards on YouTube. That always takes care of it.
Yeah, there's nothing better than a kid fall down on his no-nos and you're thinking, hey, he won the Darwin Award.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it is a breath of fresh air.
I got to tell you, I'm a sucker for Vines. So, I mean, I am literally a sucker for Vines, watching Vines videos.
That's what it's compilations like that.
Right.
You're absolutely right, Serrana, though. When you're even though you're doing the research, you may not be able to do anything about it, but it's better than living a lie that they tell you.
Yes. I'd rather know. I'd rather know all the possibilities and even the crazy, whacked out ones. So some of those I found that I never had heard of until I started doing this research.
It's kind of like you see the truck coming. You'd rather see the truck coming knowing you're going to die anyway. So, you're prepared, you know what to expect, and I guess in the meantime, you're ahead of the game with the sheep that are out there that don't realize what's coming for them.
So in a way, have kind of like a gallows humor about it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So let me ask you, okay, your show is going to be on Saturday night again, which is going to be Halloween.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you two made up your minds about what your show is going to be on Saturday yet?
In fact, we have. I'll tell you mine, and it's kind of a split thing that we're doing. We're doing Aliens and Skinwalker Ranch show. Basically, on my part of the end, I'm going to discuss about one of my favorite UFO cases, and that would be the Hopkinsville, Kentucky incident, where a poor ranch family was attacked by goblin-like aliens, and the events that unfold that night. Now, as far as Serlana,
I picked the Skinwalker Ranch because when I first moved to Texas and I met, well, you call him Space Boy. When I met James, I don't call him Space Boy because that'd be weird. I started working for temp jobs, and one of the temp jobs I started doing was cleaning up things, and it was at this place called Bigelow Industries. Well, it turns out that's Robert Bigelow's company, and he's the one who ended up buying that ranch and sending out the team of researchers. So I have this weird peripheral connection to it, and James had bought the book it was co-authored by George Knapp, and I read that years ago, and I dug it out of the closet, and I'm going through it, and I'm doing some trying to refresh my memory, and it is so creepy, and there's so many things that happen. It's very Lovecraftian in its spookiness.
Well, we'll also probably be discussing the other, I guess, the horror story. Let me just quickly tell you. It was October 30th, and I was feeling quite lonely. This is before I met Sir Lana, and I thought, well, I'll go out on Yahoo Personals and find somebody to, just go out on a date or something. Little did I know that I would find my future wife, and the rest is history. So that was my horror story, but it's actually turned into something nice.
Okay.
Is it
Okay.
when we met?
Okay. Lynn has something she wants to ask you. Lynn, would you please come in and ask Space Boy what you want to ask? Lynn?
Yeah, okay. There was I was watching a video from Project Camelot yesterday. It's a 4-part one, and she was speaking to these two guys, and there's a guy, I think he was in Hawaii, and it was like the Skinwalker Ranch. He has like aliens dropping by, and he's killed greys, and yeah, it's a real spooky story, but just like the Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that's definitely something we need to look into.
Because this is my week of research.
Yeah, this week, because it will cover aliens as definitely a part, and of course the Skinwalker Ranch is definitely going to be a part. But we also like to throw a little bit of this and a little bit of that to see what comes up. So, Lynn, I hate to hey guys, we're taking some knowledge from your show to do on our show, but that sounds like a good idea. We'll look into that for you and bring it up.
Oh no. I mean that's not an issue at all. I mean we more than welcome to steal whatever you like.
It's all a big family, brother.
That's right.
Yeah. But we appreciate you guys, and like I said, we're tuned in, and we appreciate the reciprocal and what y'all do for us, and what we're doing is as a result of fandom of someone we really enjoy listening Monday through Thursdays, and that's Jimmy Church. And without
he's going to be on tonight.
Yeah, which he's going to be on tonight on Coast to Coast. There's another plug for him. It's amazing how far the Fadernauts in general have come, and we're just trying to own the weekend when he's off the air, so to speak.
Amen.
Space Boy, do this for me later on off the air, of course. Email me, and I will send you an audio book that I did that was done by Gray Barker. Gray Barker did a lot of the initial research for your Kentucky area.
Okay.
So just an FYI there. There's a little bit of it in this audio book, but there's not a whole lot. It was in one of his earlier writings. It was published the one I did was published back in 1956, but it was some of his earlier books that he did, and he was the initial investigator on the scene.
Now, was that the reporter that was local at the time that went to the family to ask for descriptions? Or is
if it's the one I'm thinking of, yes. The initial report is in there and if I'm not mistaken, it was a lady reporter that did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, all that Kentucky story is right there in that audio book for you.
Well, it's a great story, and I hope that people tune in for it because, and like I said, I remember it as a kid because I'd get these books from Scholastic, while everybody else is getting, Choose Your Own Adventure and Star Wars. I was actually getting books on Loch Ness Monster and UFOs, and part of those books that I would get as a kid, this is one of them that had several stories in them, and it freaked me out as a kid, and it's just one that I enjoy, and it's one of those stories, when you listen to it, it's a good story, but at the same time, it's hard to dispute the story because of the way the family describes the incident and all the various other things that come along with that, but yeah, just we'll definitely look into that, and then just tune in for the rest.
Yeah, I would send you the manuscript, but I no longer possess that. I don't. One of my hard drives crashed, but I still have the audio, and I'll just gift that to you. You can have it for free.
Awesome, I appreciate that.
Hey, free stuff.
Yeah, free.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you have an Audible account or an Amazon account, but it goes through those two sites.
My audio account, yes, I love it. Can't see without it.
So yeah, if you just send me, how you get onto there with your email address, and I will just gift you the book.
Awesome. I'll get that done a little bit later here, and I'll look forward to the hookup.
All right. Thank you, Space Boy. Thank you,
Hey,
Sir
hey,
Lana.
hold
you.
on, hold
Hey,
on.
y'all
Wait a
have a
minute.
great.
You
Hang on.
guys,
Hang on. Rick's got something.
you guys
Who,
can
Who's
get off.
Rick?
who's Rick?
Never heard of Rick.
Rick?
Some
Never
dude.
heard of
I
Rick.
think it's spelled with a silent P. But you guys aren't getting off the hook that easy. We need a story. Yeah, sorry. We get a story.
Okay.
Oh.
What? I just told my horror story.
No, a date with your wife is not a horror story. You know,
No,
well, I met you too. That's not a horror story.
On the day where I met him, because I just met him from the internet, I did say, look, I have something in my car if you try anything funny.
You did not say that.
And I can identify you in any lineup country.
It was years later that you said, I was packing that night just in case. And
I was alone, you know.
And to be honest with y'all, ladies and gentlemen, our thing is that, she says, you can leave anytime you like. But just know that I'm going to take 2 bullets and put them into each knee while you crawl out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can check out any time I like, but I'll never leave.
He is a Texan, dude.
That I was gonna say that's a very Texas dating story.
I'm Texas.
Oh no,
Southern thing.
Yeah, she's from Louisiana, and I tell her that every time swamp people come on, hey, do you recognize them? Do you know that person?
Well, hey, wait. Hold on. From Louisiana, that means you've had to have heard a story about the Rougarou, one of my favorites.
The Rougarou? Yeah, I've heard of that.
Basically, I'm hunting for a story from one of you guys. I was hoping you had I was hoping you had a Rougarou story.
I can tell you something my mother did to me. I was about 15, and my dad was doing some work on the side, freelance surveying, and this is before GPS transits and all this stuff. This is old school surveying where you have to go out in the woods and you send the person with a candy stripe pole, the red and white pole. So he used my mom and myself as his survey crew, and all I had to do was go hold that candy cane pole out in the woods by myself. This is very northernmost Louisiana. We're nearly at the Arkansas border, the southern Arkansas border. Now, Arkansas is kind of known for its own Bigfoot sightings up there. If you're familiar with what's that famous movie that
Boggy Creek. Yep.
Boggy Creature. Well, my mother was very creative, and she enjoyed messing with me, my brother, and my sister. So we're in the thick woods. This place was going to need to be surveyed before they could develop it, I guess. And so they send me into what's like a hollow, and it kind of dips down, and then the trees get a little thick. It was a bright, sunshiny day, but this kind of gets close in, and it's dark, and I'm alone with just a walkie-talkie. And so my mother comes over the walkie-talkie, and she's like, did I tell you about this wild man down here called Boudreaux? And she starts spinning this tale, and she's my mother. She wouldn't tell me things to scare me when I'm out in the woods alone. And she just spins this tale about some hairy wild man that's been seen in the woods and going after people and killing animals and just wonderful things you want to hear when you're alone in the woods with no one around but a walkie-talkie. So that's probably the closest I have because, I was raised Southern Baptist. I didn't even get to do Halloween. Not that I really miss anything, but anyway, that's all I have.
Sir Lana, now that you bring up that story, I'll send you a link later on Dogmen and Bigfoot. About a surveyor's son that got chased by a Bigfoot. In the same area of the country you're talking about. I think it was in Arkansas.
Yeah, we were very close to the southern border of Arkansas. This is I can't even think of the name. It's been so long since I've been to Louisiana, but it's up far from my hometown. If I had a map, I could tell you what it was, but it was very close. It's still woodland, still kind of bayou, still kind of swampy stuff,
Very cool.
But that's all I've got.
Unfortunately, I really don't have anything.
We've lived sheltered lives.
I mean, I haven't had any paranormal thing, and I think I might have talked about this to Rick Sennett before. I think it was Rick. Was it a Rick? I don't know. Do I know a Rick? But anyway, yeah, there's only been one instance where I've had something spectacular happen, and that's the UFO sighting thing that I saw as a kid, and I described that in more detail on not Coast to Coast, whatever, on Jimmy's show, Faith of Black. But yeah, so yeah, it is what it is. So yeah. Now I've been told, when I was a kid that I looked like Bigfoot because I was hairy, but beyond that, yeah. So that's my story.
More like a teddy bear.
I know kids can be so.
As he sits here with his full beard.
Oh yeah, I'm going Grizzly Adams lately.
Because winter is coming.
I do the same thing. I usually don't get I refuse to get a haircut during the winter.
Really? You'll have to send a picture so I can accurately draw you in the future.
Oh, no.
Yeah, apparently it's turned out that Les is her new hobby as far as drawing, and she does all these doodle sketches now with Les in a dress, Les in pajamas, Les in,
I wanted to have a Halloween costume.
My wife loved, by the way.
Oh, she liked the little dino?
Yeah, the dino onesie you put me in. Yeah, she really enjoyed that.
Well, at least this time she's putting clothes on you, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to Kat for bringing that up.
Kat, who lives in my hometown, which is funny.
Wow, that's a coincidence.
Yeah, that's weird. Never met her, and she's living in my hometown.
There are no coincidences, my friends. There are no coincidences.
Well, guys, we don't hold up the rest of the show. We just wanted to make sure that we love Beyond the Strange, and we listen to every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we look forward to the future of your show.
Hashtag Be Strange.
Yeah, Be Strange. And our show bookending back to back. So, here's to the future, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you, Spaceboy and Sir Lana, for coming on tonight. Thank you very, very much. And best wishes with your guys' show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, guys.
Have a good evening.
Take it easy, man. And Sir Lana.
Later, you two. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Good night.
Bye.
And so ends our Walton's episode. Oh, no.
I feel bad. They did a better plug for Beyond the Strange, than I did on their show last night for Beyond the Strange. I feel like a total jerk.
Hey, that's all right. Didn't you say last night you feel like a total heel for not mentioning Beyond the Strange?
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting
I was going to say Tool.
Yeah, well, all those apply, and then some. But yeah, I was just like, well, you have anything to plug? And I'm like, and so I just like spouted stuff out, and then I'm like, oh my god, I forgot to plug Beyond the Strange. I feel like such a
I
jerk.
get a text from him while I'm half asleep, and it's like, dude, what's the time? What time is it on? I feel like a total heel for plugging, but I got to do it.
That's all right. Oh, boy. Okay, so back to what our show is about, which is ghost stories and paranormal. I will go ahead,
Brian.
I will go ahead and share two with you. The first one was me personally and my family. The second one was just basically, well, the first one I'll run through by you is my grandmother after my grandfather passed away back in '76, and then we'll go into break, and then I'll share the second one with you, which is more of a personal experience. My grandfather passed away in '76, and of course, it's Southern California, and they had sold their farm in Oregon. And they had been down there for about a year, but basically the whole family's from Southern California from when they moved out from Ashland, Ohio. And after my grandfather passed away, of course, again, it's Southern California out in the middle of the desert. So yeah, it's mainly trailer courts, or what used to be referred to as trailer courts, which are now modular home parks, or whatever you want to call them. But it was literally a trailer park. and it was shortly after my grandfather passed away and she was living by herself in the trailer. We were all living in the same trailer court, but she was living in the seniors section, so a little bit quieter than the rest. And every night she would say, and my grandfather was a pretty good man. I would say I would go so far as to say he was a great man. He helped build the I-5 corridor from California up through Canada. He worked in lumber mills. They owned a house out on Malibu at one time. You know, and he even helped build Disneyland at one time. So, but anywho, after he passed away, she would continue to say that he always came to bed with her when she went to bed. She would be laying there in bed, and usually she went to bed before he did. And she would be laying there in bed asleep, and she would feel his presence, climb into bed with her, and sleep next to her, literally fill the mattress, compress with his weight, even though he had already passed away. And this went on for years, until she literally sold the trailer and we all moved up to Washington State again. But I mean, that was basically the consistency of their life shared together. But she would always feel him there, come to bed at night, and she would always feel his presence around. Other than the bed, which I wasn't privy to, no other out of the norm stuff happened. But she would always say that she always felt his presence around after he had passed away. And like I said, every night when she went to bed for, I think it was about 5 years, she would say, he comes to bed with me every night. So that's
amazing.
But I mean, they lived a long life together from what was it? My mother was born in 37 or 32. So from roughly the 1920s up until 76. So, I mean, just a long life spent together. So,
how long were they actually married?
They were married the entire time. I want to say they were married, let's see, 20s, 30, 40, at least probably, I want to say, around 55 years.
So they were literally together for 60.
Yeah, roughly.
That's just amazing, dude.
Yeah. I mean, they were both born in, as they put it, '01.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think I've heard. I may have heard something very similar, but that takes a lot of love, and it takes that's someone who took seriously their vow until your grandmother passed too. They must have been truly in love with each other. That's a love story, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and in essence, but as far as a haunting is concerned, I don't consider it so much as a haunting as what I guess you would term it the afterlife. I don't consider it so much as a haunting as two people sharing so much time and so much life together that when one passes away, it's not an instant release of that bond that they shared. So
absolutely.
At least that's the way I consider it.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I've had relatives that have passed away swing by and say hi, if you will, including my son that passed away not long after. And there's definitely a bond between the two. If they have something like that happen, it's not just bar buddies, dropping by to say hi. Not that doesn't happen, but that's truly a bond, especially when she still feels him, at night. That's awesome. I mean, it's very heart touching. That's great.
Well, like I said, it's not much of a ghost story, but it's just it's along the lines, it's one of those paranormal things, one of those spiritual things.
Not all ghost stories are frightening. Not all ghost stories are bad, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Is there are quite a few ghost stories out there that are actually comforting, and something that not a lot of people understand, especially as we get closer to Halloween. More people are expecting scary stories. They're watching Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, and they want to be scared, and they don't realize that there is a very loving and compassionate side to the paranormal and hauntings and things like that. There are a lot of times that there are hauntings, and the ghost that's there, or the entity, is there to try to comfort people.
And
Exactly.
there is a difference. There are
Yeah.
entities, and there are what we call echoes. And the entities are a piece, or are a whole part of something that someone leaves behind, rather than an echo, or like a magnetic tape theory. Or it's the difference between a living, thinking entity versus seeing a person in real life and then seeing them on a screen.
Yeah, and not everybody that hangs around is hanging around because they're a tormented spirit, or they had a tragic end or something like that. Some people are hanging around because they like the place, they like the people, and they like their life. And it's not that they can't let go; they just want to hang around and make sure everybody's okay. My wife had a similar experience with her grandfather when he passed away. So I mean, just because it's not what I'm trying to say is, just because it's not a scary ghost story, don't discount it, because ghost stories aren't always horror.
Well,
I think
true that.
I think Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore proved that.
Oh, ghost, huh?
Yeah, I had to go there. I'm in a slightly goofy mood tonight. Forgive me.
That's all right. Okay, Allison Bell has joined us.
Hello.
Let's.
Hey, Allison.
Hey. Well, I have a kind of mushy ghost story. It's not scary, and so until you guys talked about this one, I thought, no, I'm not going to call in because it's not like way cool and scary, but it's a beautiful one. And I called in to Jimmy one night and told this. When my husband and I were first dating, he was adopted. And the last time he saw his mom, he was 12 years old. And then he hadn't heard anything, and I met him in his 40s. And he was always kind of wondering, well, whatever happened to my mom? Because she kind of just disappeared. And I was sitting in the living room, meditating, and kind of journaling and just kind of getting my stuff straight, because I had recently gone through divorce. And it's very good to just put it all down somewhere where it doesn't put itself out there where you don't want it to. And I can't stand ghosts. They scare me. And all of my life it's been, look, this is your space, this is my space. Don't come into my space and don't scare me, because I don't like that. And I was sitting there just quietly doing my thing, and this person, this spirit or ghost, or whatever you want to call it, kind of peeked around me and went, hello. And I was like, I looked up and I went, what? And then I went, no. So I went back to my writing, and she did it again. And this time, I really looked at her, and I went, oh my. And, well, I put my journal down. I went and found my husband, and I said, is something really strange just happened to me? So I sat down, and I told him, what had just taken place. And he said, well, what did she look like? Because I got a good look at her the second time she peeked around my awareness, or whatever you want to say. She was very gentle about it. She didn't just jump in and go, hello, and make me rocket off the couch and hit the walls. So I explained what she looked like, and his expression just kept getting more and more incredulous. I mean, the eyes bigger, the mouth dropped, and he didn't say anything, but he got up from the chair, walked into the bedroom, and went into the top of the closet and pulled out a box and pulled out this picture and showed it to me. And he said, did she look like this? And I went, I took a good look at it, and I said, oh my gosh, yeah, that was exactly, who is that? And he goes, that's my mom. And I've always wondered if she was still around or not. And so I guess I know now. And that's my ghost story.
Wow. I mean,
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It was good for him, you know. He and his mom were close, and then one day she just kind of disappeared, and nobody ever knew. But yeah, so there you go. That's my contribution.
does anybody have any questions for Allison on her story?
I do. Do you think maybe she was just checking in, kind of like, who's this broad with my son?
Yes.
Type of thing. Yeah, definitely.
I definitely got that feeling. I really did, and I think I got approval. It was very heartwarming. You know?
The approval was actually going to be my next question. Do you think, like, okay, she's okay, I'm okay with this. Yeah, but also, what do you think would have happened if she didn't approve?
Well, I have no clue. That it's speculation. I have questioned myself on that. I've often thought about that, but I've never had to worry about it because she really does like me, which was kind of cool to know that she did approve of me. Well, she knows I really love her son a lot, and I think that's, being a mom myself, that's really all I want for my kids, And I don't know past that. My gosh, that's a good question, really.
Because, I mean, in a way, if it was me, I would think that would mean a little bit more, considering what I imagine would be a Herculean effort to, keep tabs. Because, I mean, obviously none of us are dead, so we don't know what effort needs to go in to check on somebody. But I imagine it would be pretty incredible to be able to go from the spirit world here, here to check in on somebody. You know what I mean?
I think also because Kolo, my husband, was really wondering where, about his mom, that it was the two of them working together. In other words, his soul wanting to know, his emotions always wanting to know what on earth had ever happened to his mom, and then her wanting to reassure him. I just happened to be the go-between, and like I was convenient, I was there, I was kind of open and aware to it, and so it was easy for her to come and visit me because he was calling her. And I'm sure, my husband's a knucklehead, if he had listened, he would have heard her message earlier. But, you always go, and, you don't pay attention and stuff. But I was in a really, really meditative mood. I was really doing some inner work and being real still inside of myself. And I think that had something to do with it. She was able to get through me, whereas my husband has this spider brain that does 10 million things all at once very well, but it leaves no room for anything else to come through, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Now, sorry, what was his reaction? Did he seem more at peace after this? Was he, did it do good for him?
Oh, yes. Oh, man. It was very enlightening to watch the expression on his face when I looked at the picture and said, I got it down to the dress, the hair color, the face shape. I told him all this before he showed me the picture. then he showed me the picture, and I said, "Oh yeah," and his face was, "Oh wow," because it meant that all of these years that he hadn't heard from her, it didn't mean that she didn't love him. It meant that she had died. And you hate to think that maybe that's what has happened when you haven't heard from somebody. And
But time is different on their plane than it is ours.
Yes.
For her, it could have been 10 seconds.
That's true. But I think, knowing the two of them, she had probably tried to let him know before this. And this is one of the unfinished pieces in his life. And he was bringing things all together at that point when I met him. And it makes sense that she came through when she did.
So it was more of a closure for him at that point in his life.
Yes.
And you were more or less the conduit to make it happen.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's just astounding.
It was really heartwarming. I mean, what a privilege to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
That's an amazing story, Allison. I just wanted to say thanks for coming on the show and sharing that. That was really cool.
Thank you, guys. I also have some weird anecdotes about my my dearly departed ex, but we're not going there tonight. Needless to say, Les has met him already. Okay. So
that was an interesting story, yeah.
Yeah, it's another story for another night. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. I've been listening all evening. It's been a total pleasure.
Thank you, Allison, for coming on.
All right. Night-night.
Night-night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Beyond the Strange, and we are going to take our third break. It's a little late in coming, but we're going to take it. And remember to follow us, #BeStrange on Twitter or at Beyond Strange Days 2015. Also on Facebook, Beyond the Strange. And we'll be right back.
Yo. Is this thing on? Beyonders, believe. Stay strong, Beyonders. Hey. Where's my beer? You said you paid me a beer for doing this. Give me my beer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And I will go ahead and tell you my second story. And this one's more of a residual haunting per se. And then I believe Les has one to share with us. And I'll try and make this as quick as I possibly can. And again, this is when I was living again down in Southern California in the Mojave Desert. And again, it was a mobile home park. I believe it was a single wide trailer. And the way it was laid out is the master bedroom, which me and my older sister shared, was in the front of the trailer. And then you had the front door. And then you had the living room, then the kitchen, a little kind of rec room, laundry room type deal. And then the back bedroom where my mother slept, and she worked nights. Now, every night, it was someplace in between 9:30 and 10:30 at night. And I don't know if you remember them, the old doorbells with the two little bars in them and the hammer that swung back and forth, basically giving you the ding-dong. Electrical, of course. Every night, sometime between 9:30 and 10:30 at night, that thing would go off. It wouldn't matter if it was a weekend or a weekday, 7 days a week. That doorbell would chime. And the front window to the master bedroom looked out onto the patio where you could actually see the front door. It was like right there, less than 2 feet distance. And you could sit there and you would peek out the curtains, or at least I would. As kids, we would. And you would peek out the curtains and the doorbell would still chime. Nobody was standing there. The porch light was on, but nobody was standing there. And the doorbell would still ring. Something actually either pressed the doorbell chime or actually rang the bars, caused the electrical mechanism to actually go off. We had babysitters. Mom used to work nights. At that time, I think she was working for Lockheed before it became Lockheed Martin. And so we'd have babysitters, same thing. The doorbell would chime. They used to have a little plastic cover over them. And Mom used to do knitting, so did my grandmother, so there was always yarn floating around. And this was about when I was 4 or 5 years old. But I was slightly a little bit of an ingenious little person. I took some yarn and I actually tied back the hammer to one of the chime bars. And what ended up happening was it would still ring. Even tying back the hammer that actually rang the chime bars, that sucker would still ring. And like I said, 7 days a week, every single night, basically at the same exact time. Nobody was out on the front porch. You could tie the hammer back and it would still go off. We ended up moving away to Washington for a number of years, moved back, and one of my old schoolmates, her family lived in the trailer. And this was mid-'80s when we came back, 84, 85, sometime around that time period. And I was, getting reacquainted with some of my old friends back from elementary school. And like I said, her family lived in this particular trailer. And getting reacquainted with them. And at that time period, it was still doing the same thing. The different family was still experiencing this. Basically 20 years later. Or, 10? No, no, 10 years later. Yeah, a little over 10. About 10 to 12 years later. Another family experiencing the same thing. That doorbell was still ringing between 9:30, 10:30 at night. So, again, it's one of those residual things. Now, as far as the history on the trailer, don't ask me, haven't a clue. I was too young at the time, and, it just became one of those things. At first, it freaked you out, and then you just became used to it. It was just one of those things that continued to happen, so you just got used to it. It was just one of those things in life, especially living in that particular trailer. So if anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy to ask as far as what I can. So feel free to chime in, anybody.
Well, what do you know about the area?
Well, again, it's a trailer court. It's in the Mojave Desert, Palmdale, California. It's on the outskirts of Palmdale as you go down Apple Blossom Highway out towards Little Rock. So it was settled a long time ago when my dad was building the aqueduct from Colorado into Los Angeles. He used to bring home old traps, from fur trappers, old wagon wheels from when everybody made the trip out west. So, I mean, a lot of history. Of course, you've got the dry lake bed of Lake LA out there. That's about it. Other than all the aircraft manufacturers and now which are now actual military aircraft manufacturers these days, and NASA and science and stuff like that.
So it's not exactly like it's a violent.
I had something similar.
Go ahead, Lynn, and I'll answer Rick's question.
I had something similar happen to me when I moved into this new house. I looked at the photo of my husband and I said, I don't feel your presence in this house. And the doorbell rang and I went, oh, okay, and I went and looked at no one there. And then every night it would ring at the same time. And then the batteries died and I changed the batteries and Bob, and then I couldn't get the doorbell hasn't worked since.
Yeah, it sounds exceptionally similar to mine.
Yes, that's like I didn't even think about it. You said yours, yeah, to the back covered.
Yeah, and you're breaking up really bad, Lynn, and I know you're having modem issues today. So, and for those that don't know, Lynn lives in Australia. But yeah, Rick, no real violent acts that I'm aware of, other than, the regular, drunken brawl and everything, because it was really heavy back then. Plus, you have, before California was actually purchased from the Spanish. So, yeah, as far as I know, no, nothing really violent.
Okay, so it's weird is the property that my dad lives on. Well, actually, he's just sold it, but nothing. There's no development or anything like that. He and his wife built the house that they live in, so I mean, there's nothing there. But they have activity, which is weird because I mean, it's just virgin forest until they built their house there.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, on that scale, if you think about it, no land that you live on is actually virgin. There. I mean, people have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, so no true land is actually virgin property. I mean, if you go that route, it might have been a Native American um, uh, that possibly, warring tribes had a little skirmish there, and maybe somebody died. You just never know.
Yeah, well, and also it could be an object that he owns. It could be him himself.
Oh, it could be. I have heard that a lot of. I don't think I'm one of them, but I've heard that a lot of people actually attract. What do we want to call it? Paranormal activity from wandering spirits that kind of like a lightning rod with lightning, just drawn to it.
In other words, he's haunted, not the actual building.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Les, you had a story you wanted to share?
If we still have enough time, I'll be happy to talk about it.
Well, yeah, we'll go over a little bit. How's that sound?
All right. Is that okay with everybody?
Go to it, man.
All right. Well, this has to deal with a house my grandmother lived in Beach Island, South Carolina. It was a two-story house, or a bi-level house. It had a very long driveway going that curved around that went to it, and a two-car open, or actually a three-car open garage. Most of the house where everybody lived was on the top level, and then they had a storage cellar underneath on the bottom level and an extra bedroom. Now, the rest of what I'm going to talk about is one room in particular in this whole house, and where it was facing. It was facing, there were two ponds on the property, and this particular room was like the master bedroom of the house. No one was living in it. It was only used for guests. And I used to take care of my grandmother and my aunt on weekends. I did it to my grandmother was I'm sorry, not my grandmother, but my aunt was a double amputee due to diabetes, and because I lived in the area, I was happy to do it. Now, I'm not the only one that experienced what I felt was whenever you stayed in this back room, there was a feeling of dread. There was, I could not, and I'm in my late 20s, early 30s when I'm doing this. I could not sleep in that room unless I had the doors open, I had the lights on, and I had the curtains closed. And there was a big king-size bed back there. I mean, it was a very nice place. It's just for some reason, whenever you'd look out the windows or look towards the back of this room, or where they had these bay windows in a very large walk-in bathroom that they had, you kept feeling a presence, and every single person that would visit that house, that would stay in that room, felt the same way. Now, my cousin, who was much younger than I was, probably, he was born 25 years after I was, he actually said he saw a little boy in that back room in the closet. Now, I don't know if this thing was a spirit. I do know Indians lived there at one point in time, and if I seem to think now that I know more than I did back then, it was quite possibly some type of elemental, maybe a guardian spirit of the land that just didn't like us. Because anytime you'd look out that bag, I'm thinking about it right now, and I am getting the chills. You'd almost picture something horrible. And my grandmother, and my uncle went through a particularly bad thing with this, whatever it was, and it had to do during a time that she was dreaming. She dreamed that, and they both had this same dream, which is kind of what makes it kind of messed up. Right next to my grandmother was dreaming that this. Now you've got to imagine she was 92 when she died. She was born in the teens of the 1900s. She imagined, or she dreamt, a 6'5" black man with razor sharp teeth in front of her window, her bedroom window, trying to bust in and bust through into her room. She screams. My uncle, staying in that back bedroom, runs down the hallway, slipping and sliding all over the place. And she was like, "Oh, I thought it was real, but it was actually a dream." But he had seen the same figure in his dream. He knew exactly. They both experienced seeing the same thing. Now, I don't know if my grandmother experienced something that was scary to her. It used that thought form to take the form of something in her dream that would scare her, or not. I'd love to hear what all of your opinions are.
Rick?
Now, again, I'm sorry because I was dealing with some kids. What area was this in again? What area of the country?
Beach Island, South Carolina, right near North Augusta.
South Carolina. A lot of hoodoo, or what people now know as voodoo,
Yes.
in that area.
There is. Actually, the driveways in the particular area are painted blue.
Uh-huh. And do you still see people of chalk dust or something like that across their doorways?
Or brick dust, yes.
Yeah. I don't remember the god, but that is actually a description of one of the voodoo, I don't know, saints or whatever you call it. Like I said, I forgot which one, but that description is one of the guys that they pray to during a voodoo practice.
Is it actually the god of the dead, the one that guards the gate of the dead?
I forgot which one, because I mean, there's the one that you'll see most commonly is the one with the top hat, because that's the one that deals with money. But no, that is, if I remember correctly, I'm rusty on my voodoo knowledge, but no, that's a description of one of the voodoo gods. That's why I was just kind of like, oh crap, where was this at?
Once you said that, that makes a lot of sense, because there is in the South Carolina. Now they're about 2 hours away from Savannah proper, but there is a lot of voodoo in South Carolina.
Well, and also considering the background of the area, African Americans don't have the warmest fuzzy from that area, especially around the 1800s.
Well, yeah, with all the slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're going to have, bad vibes coming from that. I mean, just really, really wretched stuff. But, yeah, I would look into it, and I'll do some more research when I have the chance.
And Rick,
I believe that's one of the voodoo gods.
It's really funny, because the second they moved out of that house, it became dilapidated. Mold started growing on the walls, and it started literally almost falling in on itself. And the house couldn't have been more than 15, 20 years old.
Yeah, I mean, not meaning to get too, I don't know, spooky or too metaphysical with this, but I mean, it sounded like something happened there, and it just, that building and structures and people living on it, it shouldn't happen. Yeah, there are some buildings that are just so messed up that they just shouldn't exist. They should just be leveled and done with. Yeah, because there's such a bad energy behind it.
Oh, I agree. That house, if it had not, if for some reason it had ever ended up in my possession, which it didn't, uh, I would have torn it down and sold the land.
Yeah, and especially seeing something like that. I mean, um, regardless, it doesn't matter if it's an African American, if it's a white guy, if it's a purple person. You see somebody who's 6'5" and with razor sharp, what I'm kind of picturing is like shark teeth.
In
That
suspenders, bald. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the type of crap that Toby Hooper and Sam Peckinpah make movies about.
Yeah, and it
That's
does.
horror.
It does
That's
sound like
truly
that,
horror.
doesn't it? Yeah. Thanks. Well, that's my story, guys.
That's a good one. Yeah.
No, I mean, how old were you when this happened, Les? I mean,
Well,
that would.
they moved into that house when I was in my 20s. They started living together, before actually, that my aunt lost her legs. But they were sisters, and in the South, when you're young and when you're old, yeah, you support each other. You live with each other, and that was the way my uncle had set it up. Was so my aunt Violet would not be, alone. And I was probably 25, 26.
Yeah, I think at that age, I would have been freaked the hell out. I'm just saying, if I saw something like that at that age, I probably would have been freaked the hell out by it. And I mean, that would have been, I don't know, that would have just sent shivers up and down my spine.
Dude, at 40 years old, I would have pissed myself.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually see it, but both my uncle and my grandmother were. I literally saw. It was so easy for them to equate the story. I could literally see. It was almost like they telepathically put that picture in my head, and I can still see it to this day. I could see that guy with a double-handed axe trying to beat down my grandmother's window to get inside.
Mm.
Scary shit.
I'm gonna have to undust my or dust off my Clive Barker books.
Candyman.
Thank you very much for letting me tell my story.
All right, gentlemen, and lady, Lynn. I think it's time to go ahead and wrap up this episode. Does anybody have anything to say to anybody out there?
Dave, thank you very much for letting me be co-host with Brian tonight. Brian, dude, and this show would not be the same without you, and won't be. I know you're not going anywhere. You're just stepping down as the co-host, but it just won't be the same without you. Thank you very much for everything you put into this, and you put your heart and soul into this show too. It's a piece of you now, so thank you.
Oh, thank you, Les. And yeah, like I said, I'm not exactly leaving the show. I'm just stepping down as co-host, and I'm still going to do as much as I can for the show in a little bit more limited capacity, rather than being on every Sunday. But I will be back on, I promise. And I want to thank Dave as well for allowing me to, share the spotlight with him on this show as well. Rick, you have anything to say? Oh, wait, hang on, Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
No, go ahead. I'll save mine for the end. Go ahead, Rick.
No, I just want to say, thank you very much for letting me join in. I appreciate it, and thank you, Space Boy, for joining the Beyond the Strange family tonight. That was fun, and all the Beyonders, be safe.
Casper?
I want to say thanks for allowing me on the show tonight. I really do appreciate it. A lot of good stories there tonight from Allison and everybody else. So we really, really enjoyed it. Well, again, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Casper, and feel free to join us anytime, especially when Dave's running the show. And don't be a stranger.
I'll try not.
Lynn, do you have anything?
Yes, I just wanted to say thanks to each week. Looking forward to Dave coming back next week. And Brian, thanks for all you've done. You've been really great, and tonight you've hosted really, really well. And thanks to all the guests that were on tonight.
Okay, I just got to say a thank you to Bob for chiming in there at the end. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it. Dave?
Brian, I don't even know where to begin to express my gratitude. And the pleasure is all mine having you host tonight. It was wonderful. You did an excellent job. But the behind the scenes thing, the stuff that you do behind the scenes, it's just, there's no way to thank you enough. And I just want to say thank you again. And, your invite is always there. So you can hop on and hop off anytime you like.
Absolutely, and like I said, and like I've explained, this is mainly just about work and obligations that I have to do, and that's the only reason I need to do this at this point in time. Who knows, later on down the road, if you're still acceptable to it, then yeah, I might jump back on as co-host. But until that time when my schedule stops being as hectic as what it is, or has suddenly become. Until then, yeah, something has to give, and unfortunately, it has to be Beyond the Strange and the co-host of this show, which I absolutely love so much to do, by the way. And I just wanted to say that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we are wrapping up here, let us go into our final music, and everybody have a safe week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.